Be me. Senior narrative designer at a mid-sized game studio in Seattle. 32, master's in comparative literature, blue hair dye fading to a tasteful teal. Landed this job 2 years ago after writing for a few indie darlings that won awards but sold 12 copies. Studio acquired the IP for Iron Vanguard. It's this dusty, hyper-masculine mech shooter from 2008. The kind of game played by guys who punch drywall and drink Monster Energy for breakfast. My mandate was simple: modernize it. Bring it into the current year. The original protagonist, Commander Stone, was a relic. A walking slab of beef with zero emotional intelligence and a gun the size of a Honda Civic. I saw the potential immediately, not to remake the game, but to deconstruct it. To subvert the power fantasy and expose the hollowness of military industrialism. I pitched my vision to the creative director, Mark. Mark is a spineless corporate type who just wants to avoid Twitter controversy. I told him, we need to pivot. Stone shouldn't be the hero. He should be the cautionary tale. Mark nodded, looking terrified of seeing the wrong thing. Whatever you think works for the modern audience, he said. I smiled. I had the keys to the kingdom. Development started. I replaced Stone's gruff one-liners with introspection. Instead of glorifying the war, the new protagonist, a non-binary mechanic named Jinx, would question why we were fighting at all. Jinx didn't pilot a mech. They repaired them. The core gameplay loop shifted from shooting to resource management and dialogue trees. The combat team complained. Players want to shoot things, the lead combat designer Dave told me during a scrum. Dave was a relic too. Late 40s wore band t-shirts actually like the original game. Shooting is archaic, Dave, I explained, sipping my oat milk latte. We're building empathy, not a kill count. Dave looked at the floor. It's a mech game. It says tactical shooter on the Steam page. It says narrative experience now, I corrected him. He didn't push back. None of them did. They knew the climate. If they argued too hard, they were difficult. If they resisted the vision, they were toxic. I felt powerful. I was steering the ship away from the iceberg of toxic masculinity and into the warm waters of progress. We released the first trailer. No gameplay. Just a cinematic of Jinx crying over a broken robot while sad piano music played. The tagline, "War creates nothing. It only breaks." I waited for the applause. Instead, the YouTube comments were a cesspool. Where are the guns? Is this a visual novel? Rip Iron Vanguard. Go woke, go broke. I scrolled through them in the break room laughing. Look at them, I told the junior writers. They're threatened. We're challenging their worldview and they can't handle it. The juniors laughed with me, but their eyes were nervous. They saw the dislike ratio. 20K likes? 150K dislikes. Review bombing before it's even out. I scoffed. Predictable. I doubled down. I wrote a devblog post titled Why Iron Vanguard Needed to Grow Up. I explained that the original game was a product of a less enlightened time. I called the old fanbase stuck in the past and invited them to expand their horizons. The backlash was instant. Reddit threads, angry tweets, YouTube video essays with thumbnails of me with laser eyes. I loved it. Every angry comment proved I was right. I was a martyr for the medium. Launch day arrived. The critics loved it. Kotaku gave it a 9/10, a brave, necessary reimagining. IGN gave it an 8, bold storytelling. I printed the reviews and taped them to my office door. Then, the Steam player count came in. Peak concurrent players. 4,000. The original game, which is 15 years old, had 8,000 people playing it that same day. I stared at the numbers. It's a slow burn, I told Mark. Word of mouth takes time. Mark looked pale. The refund rate is 45%, Sarah. They're just trolls, I said, waving a hand. They buy it, leave a negative review, and refund. It's coordinated harassment. I truly believe that. It had to be harassment. It couldn't be that the game was boring. It couldn't be that people didn't want to play a mech game where you couldn't shoot the guns. 2 weeks post-launch, the studio atmosphere was grim. The combat team was silent. Dave wouldn't even look at me in the hallway. The forums were on fire, but not the good kind. Players were dissecting the lore I wrote, pointing out contradictions, mocking the dialogue. One user, oldguard_77, was posting daily essays, not angry rants, just cold, hard analysis. The new fuel economy mechanic contradicts the established lore of the fusion engines established in Iron Vanguard 2. Jinx's backstory claims they grew up in the Sector 7 slums, but Sector 7 was destroyed 5 years before their birth date. Nitpicking. Pedantic, weaponized autism. I decided to engage. I needed to show them that I was the authority now. I announced a Discord AMA. Ask the lead narrative designer anything. I prepped my answers. I was ready to shut down the trolls with wit and academic theory. The AMA started. The chat was moving so fast the mods had to put it on a 10-minute slow mode. Most of the questions were insults. I ignored those. Then I saw him, a user named FramePerfect. I knew the name. He was a legendary speedrunner of the original trilogy. He didn't insult me. He just posted a question. Hi. In the dev blog, you stated that removing combat was a choice to heighten realism. However, in Chapter 4, Jinx repairs a Titan-class mech in 30 seconds using a wrench. In the original lore, Titans require a support crew of 20 and a dry dock. If realism is the goal, why is the repair mechanic magical, but the combat unrealistic? I stared at the screen. It was a trap. A gotcha question. I typed out a reply. Creative liberties are necessary for pacing. We prioritize emotional realism over technical manuals. I hit send, feeling smug. FramePerfect replied instantly. Understood. But if emotional realism is the priority, why does Jinx have no reaction to the death of their squad in Chapter 6? They immediately start a minigame about sorting scrap metal. It seems like the narrative contradicts the gameplay loop. I felt my face heat up. He was right. That was a known issue we ran out of time to fix. But I couldn't admit that. Jinx processes trauma through work, I typed. It's a subtle character trait. Maybe you missed the subtext. The chat laughed. Emojis of clowns filled the screen. FramePerfect didn't stop. Okay. One last question. You changed the faction history. The Northern Coalition used to be a rebellion against tyranny. You rewrote them as religious zealots. But you left all their original voice lines in the background chatter where they talk about democracy. Did you forget to check the audio files? I froze. I didn't know about the background chatter. I had ignored the audio logs because I thought they were irrelevant. I looked at the chat. Exposed. Dev doesn't know her own game. LMAO. I panicked. I messaged the mod privately. Ban him. He's derailing the conversation. The mod hesitated. He's just asking questions, Sarah. He's polite. He's arguing in bad faith. I typed furiously. It's concern trolling. Ban him. The mod did it. User FramePerfect has been banned from the server. The chat stopped. For 3 seconds, it was dead silent. Then it exploded. Not just trolls, everyone. Wow. Did she really just ban the top speedrunner for asking about audio files? Coward? I closed the Discord window. My hands were shaking. They just don't get it. I whispered to my empty office. I told myself I won. I silenced the dissenter. But the next morning, I couldn't ignore the reality. A clip of the AMA was on the front page of r/gaming. Title Iron Vanguard dev bans fan for pointing out laziness. 40K upvotes. The comments were brutal. Not just angry. They were pitying. Imagine being so fragile you can't handle a lore check. This is why the game failed. I walked into the office. The vibe was funeral. Mark called me into his office. He didn't offer me coffee this time. He turned his monitor around. Steam reviews were now overwhelmingly negative. We've had a request from the publisher, Mark said quietly. They want a roadmap? I asked, trying to sound confident. I have ideas for DLC. We can explore Jinx's childhood. Mark shook his head. They want us to halt content updates. I blinked. What? The studio is being restructured, Sarah. Iron Vanguard is going into maintenance mode. We're keeping the servers on, but the narrative team is being downsized. You're firing me? I gasped. Because of some trolls on Reddit? Because of the sales, Mark said, his voice flat. We sold 15,000 copies. We needed 500,000 to break even. He looked at me and for the first time I saw anger behind his corporate mask. You told me the audience would come. You said the old fans didn't matter. They don't. I insisted. They're dinosaurs. We're making art. We're making a product, Mark snapped, and nobody bought it. I left the office an hour later with a box of my things, my Funko Pops, my Smash the Patriarchy mug, my framed Kotaku review. I walked past the combat team's pit. Dave was there, looking at his screen. He was playing the original Iron Vanguard. He looked up as I passed. He didn't smirk. He didn't laugh. He just looked tired. And then he looked back at his screen and clicked the mouse. A gunshot rang out from his speakers. Loud, visceral, satisfying. I took the elevator down alone. I sat in my car and cried. Not because I was wrong, but because the world was too stupid to understand my genius. I pulled out my phone and tweeted, "Gamers aren't ready for complex emotional storytelling. The industry is broken." I waited for the likes. 5 minutes passed. One notification. It was a quote retweet from Frame Perfect. He didn't add a caption, just a screenshot of the player count. 12 players online, and a single emoji, a wrench. I blocked him. I drove home in silence. 6 months later, I'm working as a content moderator for a social media startup. I delete gore and spam for $20 an hour. No creative input. No narrative control. Sometimes I check the Vanguard Steam page. The studio released a patch after I left, the Legacy update. They brought back Commander Stone. They added a horde mode. They removed 80% of my dialogue trees. The reviews are up to mixed. Finally playable? One reads, "Glad they fired the blue-haired writer," says another. I sip my lukewarm coffee. They think they won. They think they saved the game. But I know the truth. They just retreated to their safe space. They're scared of real emotion. I open a Word document on my second monitor. Untitled sci-fi novel. Chapter 1. I start typing. The galaxy was ruled by men with guns, but Kale knew that words were the real weapon. I smile. This time, no one can ban me. This time, I'll make them listen. I type until my fingers hurt. But deep down in the quiet of my apartment, I can hear the phantom sound of Dave's game. The gunshot. Simple, effective, real. And I hate it. Because I know terrifyingly that I would rather play that than read my own book. I delete the paragraph. I stare at the blinking cursor. The cursor blinks back. It looks like it's laughing. I close the laptop. Go to bed. Dream of giant robots. And for the first time in years in my dream, I'm not talking to them. I'm shooting. And it feels good. Wake up in a cold sweat. Realize I've become the thing I hated. Or maybe I was just the thing that was in the way. Check phone. Notification from LinkedIn. Mark viewed your profile. Dave viewed your profile. No messages. Just looking. Like viewing a car crash. I turn the phone over. Go back to sleep. Tomorrow is another day of deleting spam. At least the spam is honest. It is what it says it is. Unlike me.